to share some things that are going to sound kind of tough here, but I want you to understand, I don't say this from a spirit of trying to be tough on you or beat you up. I say this from a spirit to tell you that inside of you is a champion, and most people have never spoke to your champion. Most people speak to you like, oh, it's okay, don't try to, don't strain yourself, now don't work too hard. And you know, that very spirit, I mean, it's a good thing that some ancestors in our past didn't have that spirit. Can you imagine the first person says, I'm going to sail across the Atlantic? What would their parents have said if it was ours? They'd say, oh, don't work too hard. Sounds kind of dangerous. It was dangerous. It absolutely was. And there many people may have not have made it, but in the process of attempting great things can occur. Do you know if you don't attempt great things, nothing great can happen? And we got a whole country that's playing it safe, and we're playing it safe our way into mediocrity. And the only way we break that is through starting to keep score. So the check step is the scoreboard of life, and we've got to learn to start to keep score. So why do so many people resist that check step? Well, simply put, it's the person's defense mechanism kicking in, designed to protect his fragile ego from the scoreboard of life. Their attitude is, if I don't look at the score, it won't hurt me. But isn't that similar to the ostrich, the famed ostrich that sees the tiger, so it sticks its head in the sand? And its attitude is, if I can't see the tiger, it's not going to hurt me. But I can promise you this, just because the ostrich doesn't see the tiger doesn't mean the tiger's dinner plans have changed. Are you following me? In the same way, whether we look at the scoreboard or not doesn't change the outcome from that scoreboard. So we have to recognize that don't allow a protection of our ego to continue us in our losing ways. It's okay to look at the scoreboard and say, I stink. You're like, it is? Good, then I'm going to be great at this thing, you know? Because that's what I did. I remember when I first started writing this book, you know, it's like when I sat down and started writing and I'd read my own writing, I'm like, this stinks. Man, all right. And so started working with some Christine Militello and some other people on writing skills because she was an English major and looking for people that had better information in that area. If I wouldn't have admitted I stunk, I would have never looked for the answer. In other words, it's okay. Listen, there's not one person here. There's not one person here that's perfect. There's not one person here that's got every area figured out. Even Chris Brady doesn't have everything figured out. He's got a lot figured out, but not everything. He's still working on areas too, just like all of us. But that's the beautiful thing about the scoreboard is the scoreboard keeps you honest. Don't run from the data in life. Learn from it. Because the data will point out the gaps. And it's in the gaps where we can improve. If you want to be at, if you're looking at data and you say, I want to run a mile in under 5 minutes, and you're running it in 5 minutes and 30 seconds, then you have a 30-second gap. You have a 30-second gap that you have to figure out how you can improve in that area so that you can break through. And you got to start studying what are the people doing that are running under 5 minutes consistently that I'm not doing, or how can I improve in this area? And I'll tell you, until you study that data and be honest with yourself, you cannot improve. That plan, do, check, and adjust process is essential. In fact, it's one of the most liberating things in the world when you start honestly confronting the data. Most people are losing in life because they will not look at the data because it takes courage. Courage, one of the things that's lacking in our culture today. Nobody wants to deal with the facts. Everybody wants to deal with the illusion. I'm great, I'm great, I'm great. But if the scoreboard's not saying it, then we got to look. Now, see, when I say that, a lot of people are like, I don't want to look at the scoreboard because it's not good. Again, I'm not beating you up. I mean, I can't even tell you how proud I am of you for showing up. Many of you, this is the first time you're seeing me, like, who is this guy? I came just to see what an Orrin looked like, you know? I'm okay with that. Here I am. But I'm proud of you. I mean, tonight you did such a championship thing because you showed up. Do you know nobody is sitting at home watching the latest TV show making a decision to PDCA? It's not hitting them. I'm going to be a champion tonight. It's not hitting them. Lots of other things are probably hitting them. But not those type of thoughts. In order to get the right type of thoughts, you got to associate with other people that are thinking that way. Success leaves clues, and that's why you're here, is to pick up some of those clues. Don't value comfort as much as you have to learn to value change and growth more than comfort. Because the PDCA process is going to reveal you to yourself. You're going to ultimately end up with two choices: change or quit. Change or quit. Look at the people that you know, and they fall into two categories. They've either decided to join the ever-increasing quitters club, right? It's a growing, welcome membership available all over, the quitters club of the world. Or you can be in the change club, the growth club. And I'll be the first to tell you, there's more joining the other club than ours. But that doesn't make it right. Success isn't a majority decision. Success is a personal decision. When you decide that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when real growth happens. And I know for Lori and myself, there are many times in our life when we looked at the scoreboard and it wasn't pretty, but we refused to suffer the illusion or the delusion that everything was okay. We looked at it and confronted brutal reality. I want to share with you a story. I'm going to have to read it to make sure I get it right here. And many of you may have read it growing up. It's called, from Hans Christian Andersen. It was written in 1837. It's called The Emperor's New Clothes. The emperor, there's a story of an emperor who cared more about his clothes than about anything else. He was so obsessed with his attire that he changed his suits every hour, flaunting his wealth and prestige to his subjects. One day, two shysters, pretending to be weavers, presented themselves to the emperor. They bragged of their abilities to weave the finest clothes with the most beautiful colors and elaborate designs. The clothes, according to the charlatans, were invisible to any simpletons or anyone unworthy of their office. The emperor, impressed by their claims, paid large sums of money to the weavers for the new clothing. The two weavers were requesting the most expensive fabric and threads, set up two looms, pretending to weave on the looms night and day, while placing the material inside of their sacks. The emperor, impatient with the wait, sent one of his loyal ministers to examine the clothing. The minister, discovering nothing, not even a single strand on the loom, feared he must be a simpleton. He listened to the impostors describe the beautiful colors and patterns as he watched them working diligently on the empty looms. Not wishing to appear unworthy of his office, the minister reported back to the emperor of his genius in hiring such competent and talented weavers. The emperor, after further delays, sent another official, hoping to encourage the completion of the suit. The new official saw nothing, but fearing the emperor's wrath, reported in a similar manner to the first minister. Finally, the day arrived for the emperor to preview the weaver's work. The emperor, seeing nothing but fearful of being considered unfit for his kingdom, played along with the deceit, proclaiming his love for the patterns and colors in his new outfit. The two conmen proceeded to ask the emperor to remove his clothes, raising their arms as if holding something to put on him. The court officials, not daring to speak the truth, pretended to agree with the emperor, lauding his genius and weaver's design. The people, in anticipation of the king's most expensive and wondrous clothing to date, gathered for the parade to view the new clothes. The emperor paraded through his capital city, listening as the people lavished praise upon him and his new clothes. Nearly everyone was spellbound by the beauty of his clothes. But over the din of praise and promotion was heard the cry of a child shouting, "The emperor has no clothes on!" The father of the young boy quickly reprimanded him, but everyone around the boy had heard the truth. The emperor, though secretly agreeing with the child, continued the parade as the crowd fawned in endless adulation, displaying his new clothes only to those intelligent and worthy of the high office. Do you realize how many people in life are proverbially parading around with no clothes on? They're parading around posing as great. I've got everything figured out. There's nothing wrong with me whatsoever. Yet the rest of us all know. We all know. I mean, if I came up here and acted like I had everything figured out, even if I fooled you, Lori's not fooled. She knows. So I'm like, I stopped trying. It's like one of the greatest days of liberation for me was to realize that I had to learn to put on the same clothes, to do the same work, that you can't fool your way to success. Abraham Lincoln said you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Success is hard work. There's no shortcut. And when you can fool yourself and you can actually have clothes on, but the world's not going to be impressed. One of the greatest days of your life is when you stop trying to impress others and start working hard enough to impress yourself. When you do that, that's when the score starts to truly change in your life.